The silence in the room felt like a physical weight as Kai's words sank in. My breath caught somewhere between my lungs and throat, while 8 pairs of shocked eyes darted between me and our grinning boss. "We're bringing in a real professional," Kai repeated, practically vibrating with excitement. "Someone who will take our work to levels you people simply can't reach." My team, my carefully assembled family of experts, sat frozen. Dasha's fingers stopped mid-sketch on her tablet. Wynn's coffee mug hovered halfway to his lips. May blinked rapidly, a telltale sign she was fighting tears. "Budget constraints mean we need to streamline," Kai continued, waving his hand dismissively at our department. "Thatcher Raleigh will be joining us next month." Yes, that Thatcher Raleigh. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Thatcher Raleigh, the golden boy who designed courses for champions. The man whose name appeared in every sports magazine and whose face graced television specials. "And the rest of us?" asked Loren, his voice unnaturally steady. Kai's smile didn't falter. "Your positions are being eliminated effective immediately. 2-week severance. HR will assist with your transitions. 5 years of work. 8 exceptional talents. A team that functioned like a single organism, all discarded for one man." I watched my colleagues' faces crumple as the reality hit them. These people who'd poured their hearts into our designs, who'd worked weekends and holidays to perfect every detail of our training courses, tossed aside like outdated equipment. "Vin, you look concerned," Kai said, turning to me. "You should be excited. This is a tremendous upgrade for the company." The way he said my name made my skin crawl, as if he expected gratitude, as if I should be celebrating the destruction of everything I'd built. "Questions?" Kai looked around expectantly, as if waiting for applause. No one spoke. What was there to say? Our lives had just been upended by a man who couldn't tell the difference between a safety harness and a seatbelt. "Excellent. There's champagne in the conference room to welcome Thatcher to our family." Our family. The family he'd just slaughtered. I stood slowly, legs numb, and began collecting my things. No dramatic speech, no tears, just methodical packing, while celebrating voices echoed down the hallway. "This isn't right," whispered May, helping me gather project files. "It's business," I replied automatically, though the words tasted bitter. One by one, my team members stopped by my desk. Quiet goodbyes, promises to keep in touch. Whispered questions about what would happen to the Rivera project, our crowning achievement, scheduled to host the championship in 6 weeks. When everyone had gone, I took one final look at the empty workstations, the half-finished designs, the models and prototypes that represented countless hours of collaborative genius. I walked out without looking back, but something inside me refused to stay buried, something that whispered, this wasn't the end, just a brutal beginning. Before we continue further, thank you for listening to this story. If you're enjoying it so far and want to hear how this betrayal turns into the sweetest revenge, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, what happens next will make you glad you stayed. My name is Vin Ashton. I'm 34, obsessively detail-oriented, and until 3 hours ago, I led the most innovative athletic course design team in the industry. I specialize in creating immersive training challenges for elite athletes, courses that push physical limits while maintaining critical safety margins, the perfect balance between difficulty and protection, between testing boundaries and preventing career-ending injuries. It started 5 years ago when I noticed a gap in athletic training. Traditional courses weren't adaptable enough for the evolving demands of high-level competition. Athletes needed environments that could simulate unpredictable variables, the kind that separate champions from contenders. I pitched my concept to Kai, a man who understood finance but not functionality. He approved my department solely because a major athletic wear company had expressed interest, not because he believed in the vision. Over time, I built my team carefully. Dasha, with her background in terrain engineering. Wynn, an expert in human movement patterns. May, our safety integration specialist. Lauren, who understood competitive psychology better than anyone. Plus Ziv, Arlo, Juno, and Saren, each bringing irreplaceable expertise. Together, we created experiences that prepared athletes for those critical moments where split-second decisions determined victory or injury. Our designs became industry standards. Athletes specifically requested our courses for their training. Championships wanted our signature combination of challenge and safety. The Rivera Championships represented our most ambitious project yet, a course that would test the absolute elite. We'd spent months balancing difficulty with protection, testing each element repeatedly. Every team member had contributed their specialized knowledge. Kai never understood that our success came from our combined perspectives. He saw only numbers on spreadsheets. 8 salaries versus 1, 8 nobodies versus 1 celebrity. I knew of Thatcher Raleigh, of course. Everyone did. His designs for Olympic champions were legendary. What most people didn't realize was that Thatcher always worked with massive support teams, specialists who remained invisible while he took center stage. The morning after our termination, I received texts from each team member. They'd scattered quickly, snapped up by competing firms who recognized their value. None of us mentioned the Rivera project, though it haunted our conversations like a ghost. I spent the next 3 weeks in a fog, mechanically interviewing at firms that couldn't match what we'd built. My answers were perfect, my portfolio impressive, but my heart remained with my scattered team and our unfinished masterpiece. 24 days after our termination, my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. Vin Ashton? The voice was instantly recognizable from countless sports interviews. Speaking, my pulse quickened despite my determination to remain detached. "This is Thatcher Raleigh." He paused as if expecting me to gasp or squeal. When I remained silent, he continued awkwardly. "Look, I know this is uncomfortable, but I need to speak with you about the Rivera Championship course." I said nothing, letting the silence stretch between us. "Things aren't going well," he finally admitted, his polished media voice cracking slightly. 3 athletes nearly got injured yesterday on the water crossing section. The water crossing, a segment we'd redesigned 17 times to perfect, a section that worked flawlessly in our tests because of May's safety protocols and Ziv's flow calculations. The course seemed straightforward when I reviewed the plans. Thatcher continued, tension vibrating through his words. "But nothing works right in practice. The client is threatening to pull everything if we can't fix it before qualifying rounds next week." I closed my eyes, picturing the Rivera course in detail. Each element we'd carefully crafted, each safeguard we'd built in, the championship that would now be compromised or canceled. "Does Kai know you're calling me?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. The silence stretched for several seconds. "I thought perhaps we could discuss this privately first," Thatcher finally said. Translation: Kai would rather let athletes get injured than admit he'd made a catastrophic mistake. "I'll think about it," I said, and ended the call. I sat motionless, phone in hand, as possibilities swirled through my mind. The humiliation of being called back to fix what should never have been broken. The satisfaction of watching Kai squirm. The relief of protecting athletes from a potentially dangerous course. But something else stirred beneath those feelings. Something sharper, more purposeful. This wasn't just about one course or one championship. This was about a fundamental misunderstanding of value, about the arrogance of believing that one star could replace a constellation. I opened my contacts and found Dasha's number first. "How quickly can you get to my place?" I asked when she answered. "Why?" Her voice was cautious. "Because I just got a very interesting call about Rivera," I replied. "And I think it's time we showed everyone exactly what legends actually cost." 2 hours later, my living room looked like our old office had been teleported in. Dasha sat cross-legged on the floor, digital sketches floating across her tablet, wind paced by the window, talking physics and force calculations. May had commandeered my dining table, spreading out safety protocols like playing cards. The others arrived in quick succession, drawn by a mixture of curiosity and lingering loyalty. "So Thatcher Raleigh can't make the Golden Boys design work," Arlo said, smirking as he unpacked his laptop. "It's not just that he can't make it work," I explained. "The design is actively dangerous. Athletes are getting hurt in testing." Lauren whistled. "That's lawsuit territory." "Exactly," I nodded. "And Kai is too proud to admit his mistake." "So what's our play here?" Ziv asked, arms folded across his chest. "Go back as consultants at triple our old rates?" The room fell silent as everyone considered this obvious solution. It would be easy, satisfying, even. Kai would hate every second of paying us premium rates to fix Thatcher's mess. "No," I said firmly. Juno raised an eyebrow. "Define too small." I walked to the center of the room, feeling more alive than I had in weeks. "Look at us. One call and we're all here, ready to work together again. That's not coincidence. That's chemistry. That's value other companies can't replicate by hiring one superstar. Okay, but what's your point? Saren asked. My point is that we shouldn't be fixing their mistake. We should be replacing them entirely. 8 pairs of eyes fixed on me, with expressions ranging from confusion to intrigue. The Rivera Championship organizers don't care about Kai or Thatcher, I continued. They care about having a world-class course that challenges athletes without endangering them, something only we have proven we can deliver. You want to go around Kai and approach Rivera directly, May said slowly, understanding dawning in her eyes. Cut out the middleman. Exactly. I pulled out my laptop. I've been tracking the Rivera project through their public announcements. Testing is already behind schedule. The water crossing section is failing. They've pushed back media day twice. They're panicking, Wynn realized. And desperate people make decisive moves. I nodded. We contact Rivera directly. Explain who we really are, the actual designers behind their previously successful courses, offer to deliver a superior, safe design before their deadline. That's ambitious, Dasha said carefully. Also, potentially career-ending if it backfires. More career-ending than being unemployed? I challenged. More damaging than watching athletes get injured on a course with our names buried in the original planning documents? The room grew quiet again, but this time, with a different energy. I could almost see the calculations happening behind each person's eyes, weighing risks against rewards, professional etiquette against justified self-preservation. I'm in, Lorenz said first, straightening his shoulders. I've got 3 nephews who follow these championships religiously. I refuse to let them watch athletes get hurt on a course that should have been perfect. One by one, heads nodded around the room. So how do we do this? Ziv asked. We can't just call up Rivera and say, hey, your current designers suck. Hire us instead. Actually, I said, with a small smile, that's exactly what we're going to do. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Who are you calling? Arlo whispered. I held up one finger as the line connected. Hello, I'm calling for Annika Tavares, I said confidently. This is Vin Ashton regarding the Rivera Championship course. Eyes widened around the room. Annika Tavares, the Rivera competition director, the person who hired Kai's company in the first place. Yes, it's extremely urgent. It concerns athlete safety during yesterday's testing phase. I put the phone on speaker as a new voice came through. This is Annika. Who am I speaking with again? Annika, this is Vin Ashton. Until 3 weeks ago, I led the design team that created the original Rivera course specs you approved last quarter. A pause. The course that's currently failing our safety tests? That course? No, I replied firmly. The course that was designed with integrated safety protocols by a team of 8 specialists, protocols that have been compromised since our departure. My team and I were replaced by Thatcher Raleigh, who is now struggling to implement a design he didn't fully understand. Another, longer pause. How do you know about our testing problems? Because Thatcher called me this morning asking for help, I said, looking around at my team. But I'm not calling to help him. I'm calling to replace him. Bold statement, Annika said, but I detected curiosity in her voice. Continue. My original team is prepared to deliver a complete, competition-ready course within your deadline. We'll stake our professional reputations on its excellence and safety. We can meet tomorrow to show you our collective portfolio and approach. And why would I consider this extremely irregular proposal? Annika asked, though her tone suggested she was already considering it. Because your championship starts in less than 6 weeks, you have athletes getting injured in testing, and Thatcher Raleigh is secretly calling former employees for help instead of fixing the problems. How am I doing so far? Silence filled the line. Then, my office, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Bring your team and your previous designs. The call ended. 8 stunned faces stared at me. Did you just, May began, get us a meeting with Annika Tavares? Yes, I confirmed. Did I guarantee we could deliver a championship-worthy course in record time? Also yes. Are you insane? Dasha asked, but she was already pulling up design files. Probably, I admitted, but I'm also right. Together we can do this. Apart, none of us can. That's what Kai never understood. We worked through the night, resurrecting our original designs, identifying what might have gone wrong with Thatcher's implementation, and preparing our presentation. The energy in the room was electric, that unique combination of expertise, trust, and shared purpose we'd built over 5 years. By morning, We looked exhausted but determined as we entered Rivera's headquarters. Annika Tavares was exactly as I'd imagined from her voice, sharp-eyed, no nonsense, with the focused energy of someone constantly solving problems. "Convince me," she said instead of hello. For the next hour, we did exactly that. Each team member presented their specialty and their contribution to previous course designs. We showed footage of champions training successfully on our previous creations. We explained precisely what had gone wrong with the current Rivera course and how we would fix it. "You realize that if I agree to this, your former employer will likely sue," Annika said. When we finished, "They can try," I replied. "But the original designs bear our creative fingerprints. We can prove ownership of the intellectual concepts. More importantly, you have a championship to run and a reputation to protect." Annika studied us for long moments. "You were really all fired to make room for Thatcher Raleigh." 8 heads nodded in unison. "Idiotic," she muttered. Then louder, "I need to consult with our legal team. Wait here." As soon as she left, nervous energy rippled through our group. "This could actually work," Wynne whispered. "Or we could all get blacklisted from the industry," Juno countered. "Either way," I said, "we did this together." 30 minutes later, Annika returned with 2 suited executives and a stack of documents. "We're prepared to terminate our agreement with your former company due to safety concerns and breach of quality guarantees," she announced. "We'll hire your team as independent contractors with an expedited timeline. The compensation reflects both the rush and the risk." She slid the documents across the table. The number at the bottom made Saren gasp audibly. "That's per person," Annika clarified. "With bonuses if the course passes all safety tests on first inspection." We signed immediately. As we left Rivera headquarters, our phones began buzzing simultaneously. Word traveled fast in our industry. Someone at Rivera had already notified Kai. "Don't answer," I advised as Kai's name flashed on my screen for the 5th time. "Let him stew." We set up temporary headquarters in a rented office space and threw ourselves into rebuilding the Rivera course. Days blurred together. We worked with the single-minded focus of people with everything to prove. On the 7th day, my phone rang again. Thatcher Raleigh. This time, I answered. "I heard what happened," he said without preamble. "I want to explain." "Nothing to explain," I replied calmly. "You accepted a job you couldn't do without support." "That's not fair," he protested. "I was told you were being downsized for budget reasons. I never knew I was replacing an entire specialized team." That gave me pause. "What else didn't Kai tell you?" "That the design was only partially complete. That critical safety testing hadn't been finalized. That," his voice caught, "that athletes could get hurt." Unexpected sympathy stirred within me. "You were set up to fail," I realized aloud. "And now I'm being blamed for everything," Thatcher confirmed bitterly. "Kai is telling everyone it was my incompetence, not his decision-making." I closed my eyes, pieces clicking into place. "He never wanted your expertise. He wanted your name for marketing, figuring he could hire junior designers at fraction of the cost to actually implement. Meanwhile, my reputation is in freefall," Thatcher said. "I've built my career on safety, as well as innovation. This could end me." I walked to the window of our temporary office, watching my team work together with their familiar rhythm. Dasha catching a flaw Zeev might have missed. May reinforcing a safety element Loren suggested. The perfect machine we'd built together. "What will you do now?" I asked Thatcher. His laugh held no humor. "Besides watch my career implode? I don't know." An idea began forming in my mind. Something audacious, unexpected. Something that would complete our revenge in ways I hadn't initially imagined. "Maybe," I said slowly, "there's another option. For both of us." The next morning, I called an emergency meeting with my team. 8 sleep-deprived faces looked back at me, with varying degrees of concern. "I spoke with Thatcher Raleigh last night," I announced. The room temperature seemed to drop. Loren's expression hardened. "Please tell me you're not considering bringing him in." "After what happened?" "Just listen," I interrupted. Thatcher was lied to as well. Kai never told him he was replacing an entire team. Never explained the course was unfinished. Never mentioned the safety concerns. "And we should care because?" Arlo asked, arms crossed defensively. I took a deep breath. "Because Kai is now blaming Thatcher for everything. Claiming his incompetence is the problem, not Kai's decision to fire us all." May's eyes narrowed. "Classic scapegoating." "Exactly," I nodded. "Kai never wanted Thatcher's expertise. He wanted the marketable name while planning to hire junior designers at a fraction of our cost to actually implement. So Thatcher's reputation is tanking, Dasha realized. Almost like karma. Yes, but it's the wrong target, I said firmly. Thatcher was a tool. Kai is the one who destroyed our team, who put athletes at risk, who cares about nothing but his bottom line. Silence settled over the room as everyone processed this perspective shift. What are you suggesting? Ziv finally asked. I'm suggesting we consider bringing Thatcher in as a consultant on our project. Protests erupted immediately. Saren stood up, shaking her head. After everything we've been through, I raised my hands. Hear me out. What's our ultimate goal here? To deliver a perfect course, yes, but also to prove that collaborative expertise beats individual stardom, that a team of specialists creates something no single person can achieve alone, including Thatcher, Wynne said slowly, understanding dawning. Including Thatcher? I confirmed. Imagine the story, the legend, himself admitting he couldn't match what our team accomplished together, publicly acknowledging that our collaborative approach produces superior results. Juno leaned forward. That would be a much bigger statement than just us succeeding without him. Much bigger, May agreed. Industry changing, potentially. I looked around the room. So, thoughts? The debate lasted 2 hours. Concerns raised, scenarios analyzed, emotions processed. By the end, we had reached a tentative consensus. Bring him in, Lauren finally said, speaking for the group, but with clear boundaries. He's learning from us, not the other way around. That afternoon, Thatcher Raleigh walked nervously into our workspace. The room didn't exactly welcome him with open arms, but professional curiosity overcame personal resentment. I'm here to learn, he said simply. No cameras, no ego. Just show me what I missed. Over the next 2 weeks, something remarkable happened. Thatcher, stripped of his celebrity status and desperate to salvage his professional reputation, proved to be a dedicated student. He watched how Dasha's terrain engineering complemented Wynne's movement analysis, how May's safety protocols enhanced, rather than constrained, Lauren's psychological challenges. I've never worked like this, he admitted one late night as we refined the water crossing section. Every design element feeding into another, everyone challenging and enhancing everyone else's work. That's what Kai destroyed, I replied quietly. Not just 8 jobs, a living system. Meanwhile, Kai had finally realized the magnitude of his mistake. His company's stock was falling as news spread that Rivera had terminated their contract. Major athletic organizations were reviewing their existing agreements. His panicked calls to each of us went unanswered. 3 days before the championship course reveal, disaster struck. A legal notice arrived from Kai's attorneys claiming ownership of our proprietary design methodologies and demanding we cease work immediately. Annika summoned me to her office, face grim. This could delay the championship. We can't afford that publicity nightmare. My heart hammered against my ribs. We were so close. Had Kai found a way to destroy us again? Our legal team is reviewing the claims, Annika continued. But this creates uncertainty we don't need right now. What can we do? I asked, mind racing through possibilities. I need absolute certainty this course will be ready. No legal complications, no last-minute problems. I nodded, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. Give me 24 hours. Back at our workspace, I shared the development. Panic rippled through the team. Can he actually own our collective methodology? Saren asked. Possibly, May sighed. Our employment contracts had intellectual property clauses. But not mine, Thatcher said suddenly. 8 heads turned toward him. My agreement was different, he explained, sitting forward. I maintained ownership of my design approaches. It was a negotiation point I never compromise on. How does that help us? Arlo asked. A slow smile spread across Thatcher's face. Because I'm officially consulting on this project now, and I can certify that the methodologies being used are consistent with my pre-existing approaches. You'd do that? I asked, studying his face. Take that professional risk for us? After what I've learned these past weeks? Thatcher looked around the room. This team approach is the future of our industry. I'd be a fool not to align myself with it. The next morning, we presented Annika with signed affidavits from Thatcher, confirming our methodologies fell under his pre-existing intellectual property Kai had no claim to. This should neutralize the legal threat, I explained, at least long enough for the championship to proceed. Annika studied the documents, then fixed me with an appraising look. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Not me, I corrected. Us. The day of the course reveal arrived. Media swarmed the Rivera Championship site. Elite athletes gathered for the first official tour, and in the VIP section, looking increasingly uncomfortable, sat Kai. He hadn't been invited, but as the CEO of a major industry company, he could hardly be turned away without creating even more speculation. Our team stood to the side, professionally dressed but deliberately inconspicuous as Annika approached the microphone. "Welcome to the unveiling of this year's Rivera Championship course," she began. "As many of you know, we experienced some unexpected challenges during development." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Kai shifted in his seat. "Rather than compromise on safety or challenge level, we made a significant change to our design team. Today's course represents a new approach to athletic training environments, one that prioritizes collaborative expertise over individual reputation." Journalists began scribbling notes. Kai's face paled. "I'd like to introduce the team responsible for what you're about to experience." One by one, Annika called us forward. Each specialist, each expert, each essential piece of the whole. And finally, Thatcher Raleigh. Confusion rippled through the audience. Wasn't Thatcher working for Kai's company? Why was he standing with this unknown team? Annika gestured for me to take the microphone. This was it, the moment I'd been working toward since that devastating day in Kai's office. "My name is Vin Ashton," I began. 3 weeks ago, my team of 8 specialists was disbanded to make budget room for a single famous name. Today, that famous name stands with us to demonstrate what the industry has overlooked for too long. That exceptional design requires diverse expertise working in harmony. Cameras swung toward Kai, whose expression had morphed from discomfort to horror. "I'll let Thatcher explain the rest," I said, handing him the microphone. Thatcher stepped forward, shoulders straight. "For years, I've received credit for work that was never mine alone. Behind every Thatcher Raleigh design stood teams of unnamed specialists. I perpetuated that myth because it benefited me professionally." The crowd fell completely silent. When I was hired to replace Vin's team, I discovered something I never expected: that 8 interlocking specialties create something no individual, regardless of talent or reputation, can achieve alone. I failed to implement their partially completed design because I lacked their collective insight. He turned toward our team. "The course you're about to see represents the future of athletic training design, collaborative, integrative, superior in every measurable way. And I'm humbled to have learned from these 8 individuals." The athletes who had already tested the course burst into spontaneous applause. Several approached us afterward, marveling at the perfect balance of challenge and safety. Kai tried to slip away unnoticed, but I caught up to him at the exit. "You never understood what made our work exceptional," I said quietly. "It was never about one person's vision. It was how 8 different perspectives created something no individual could imagine alone." His eyes narrowed. "This isn't over. Your attorneys have already received evidence that your company falsified safety testing documents," I interrupted calmly. "Thatcher provided them this morning." Kai's face drained of color. "You traded a functioning team for a famous signature," I continued. "Now you have neither, and every major athletic organization now understands exactly why." Within a month, our independent design collective had signed contracts with 3 major sports federations. May developed a certification process for safety integration that became the industry standard. Dasha and Wynn's terrain mapping system won an innovation award. Kai's company struggled to recover from the scandal. After several high-profile failures and a damaging expose on their safety practices, they were effectively blacklisted by major athletic organizations. And Thatcher? He now leads his own team of specialists at a competing firm, openly acknowledging in interviews that collaborative expertise trumps individual talent. He sends us referrals regularly. The Rivera Championship became the most watched sporting event of the season. Athletes praised the course design in interviews, specifically noting how it challenged them without risk of injury. Several approached us afterward about designing their personal training facilities. The sweetest revenge wasn't destroying Kai, it was building something so successful that he was forced to witness the value of what he carelessly threw away. Not just 8 employees, but a living system of expertise that, once shattered, could never be replicated. Today, our approach has transformed the industry standard. Companies now advertise their collaborative design teams as a selling point. Individual superstars still exist, but nobody pretends they succeed alone. The lesson cost Kai everything, but for us, it was just the beginning. If you've made it this far, thank you for taking this journey with me. Stories like mine happen every day in workplaces around the world. Talented teams broken apart by decision makers who don't understand true value. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button and share your own experiences in the comments. And if you want more stories about professional justice served with perfect timing, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's building something they can never replicate without you.